You know what time it is. P3, linear equations and inequalities. So we're going to be talking about equations, solving equations, linear equations, and linear inequalities. So let's just get started. Okay, so solving an equation. We know how to solve an equation, right? By now, hopefully. But let's review, just in case we need some, dust off some cobwebs. So to find an equation or solve for an equation, we're looking for all the values that are possible for x. So here we're to confirm a solution to figure out if a number is, possible for x. So we're going to confirm that -2 is a solution of this equation. Okay, so you have x equals, so x equals -2. So we're going to take this -2 and plug it in for that x. We're going to plug it in for that x. Okay, so let's just do that. And anytime you plug in a variable a number into a variable, put it in parentheses. Whenever we get down to exponents or anything like that, always the number one issue is squaring a negative and getting a negative number out as your answer. You can't do that. And so always just get in that habit of putting it in parentheses. Okay, so we have, anytime you see an x, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a set of parentheses, and we're going to put that -2 in there. And so I know it's written here, but I'm going to write it. So we have -2 cubed minus -2 plus 6. And we're going to try to prove that this left side equals 0. -2 cubed, -8, minus a -2, so that's really a plus a 2, and then plus 6, and then PEMDAS, order from left to right. -8 plus 2 is a -6 plus 6. Oh, looky there. Does that equal 0? You betcha it does. Okay, so we just proved that -2 is a solution. Okay, so now this book also wants you to determine whether these equations are linear. Basically, if it's linear in x, you can solve for x. Okay, if you can solve for x, you get x equals a number, it's linear. Okay, and you can only be one possible solution. Okay, and we'll talk about that with 8. There can only be one solution. If there's one solution for that x value, it's linear. Okay, if your x's go away, you can't solve for x. Or if there's 2 possible solutions, it's not linear. Okay, so here we have 5 minus 3x is equal to 0. So you just think, can I solve for x? So if we have this, you subtract 5 to both sides. -3x is equal to -5. Divide by -3. X is equal to +5/3. Okay, we solved for x. We can graph this. At x equals 5/3, that's between 1 and 2, so that would be a dashed line. There, it's linear, okay? So that's all we're doing here. So 6, it says 5 is equal to 10/2. True statement, 5 is equal to 10/2, but it's not linear. There's no x value. We cannot solve for x, so this is no, sorry. Here, 7, x plus 3 is equal to x minus 5. So I'm going to try to solve for x. If we subtract x here, we want to get x's on one side, y's on the other. Well, if you look, x minus x, that cancels. X minus x, that cancels. So we're left with 3 is equal to -5. That is not a true statement. 3 does not equal -5. So 7 is not linear. And then if we look at 8, x minus 3 is equal to x squared. Okay, so if we wanted to get everything on one side, we could subtract our x, add our 3 to say 0 is equal to x squared minus x minus 3. Well, hopefully you recall, if you have a little 2, this makes a u, so this is a quadratic. Okay, so that's not linear, it's quadratic. So, and there's 2 possible solutions for x. So this 8 also is not. So anytime you see like an x squared or a cubed or anything other than an x, it's definitely not linear. Okay, so now let's look at just solving linear equations. This is a multi-step one, but let's look at the, each individual step. Okay, and then it says to support the result with a calculator, basically just plug it back in for x and make sure, like we did with example 1. So here, whenever we have this, anytime thinking about your PEMDAS, you need to do your distributing, combining, and then move x's to one side, numbers to the other. So our first step here is to distribute these two. Okay, so 2 times 2x is 4x, 2 times -3 is -6. Distribute 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, and that is equal to 5x plus 2. So on this left side, we can combine our like terms. So 4x plus 3x gives us the 7x. -6 plus 3 gives us our -3. So now we have 7x minus 3 is equal to 5x plus 2. Okay, so there are 4 different ways to go about this. What I always do is I move x's to one side, and then numbers to the other. I like to move x's to the left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna subtract 5x to both sides. Okay, like terms go with like terms. So 5x minus 5x cancels, 7x minus 5x gives us the 2x. Okay, now I'm gonna move this -3 to the opposite side. To do that, we have to add it. 2 plus 3 is 5. Here, if we divide by 2, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So x is 2.5. And to check it, you can just plug it in. I'm not gonna do that just because time, you know? But you can if you want to. So now let's talk about fractions, dreaded fractions. Okay, this is the number one thing kids are like, fraction, I'm not gonna do that. No, thank you. No, we're gonna do them because they're just not bad. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to get rid of the fractions. So by doing that, let's look at the denominators. So here we have a denominator of 8 and 4, okay? So we want the greatest or the least common denominator, so the smallest number that they both divide into, okay? So when we want the smallest, so we can work with smaller numbers, but if you do a bigger one, it's okay. You're still gonna get the right answer. It's just gonna be bigger numbers. So if you look, 8 and 4, they both divide evenly into 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to multiply every single term in this equation by 8. And by doing that, we cancel out our fractions. So we're gonna multiply 5y minus 2 over 8. We're gonna multiply that by 8. We're gonna multiply 2 by 8. And we're gonna multiply v over 4 by 8. So that way we can cancel that. So here, you know, if we have 5y minus 2 divided by 8 times 8, if you think about cross multiplying or cross simplifying, 8's cancel. Okay, here, again, 8 times 2 and then the 8 times the y over 4. So those cancel here. 8 times 2 is 16. And then 8y over 4, so that'd be 8y over 4, which is equal to 2y. Or you can think that simplifies to be, cross simplifies as 1 over 2, 2y, okay? And now we can just simplify like we did the previous one. So I'm going to subtract 2y to both sides. Oh, that's not what they did first. They added 2, which is fine. If we add 2 to the left, so that way we have 16 plus 2 is 18, subtract 2y, cancel, cancel, 5y minus 2y is 3y equals 18 divided by 3, y equals 6. Okay, and it's a lot easier to do this, you know, to get rid of our fractions. And so that's what we're just gonna do. Okay. So now let's talk about linear inequalities. So we have 3 and then times x minus 1 plus 2, which is less than or equal to 5x plus 6. So whenever we solve these, not a lot has changed, okay? You still do the same process. We want to get x on the left, y on the right, or not the y on the right, sorry, x on the left, number on the right. But we have to be careful. I'm going to put a little note up here with inequalities. If you multiply or divide by a negative, and it's only multiply or divide, add or subtract doesn't count, you have to flip the inequality. Okay, so you have to flip your direction of your alligator or your inequality. Okay, so we're gonna simplify, we're gonna solve this like we did our previous, distribute, combine, x's on left, numbers on right. And then if we multiply or divide at any point by a negative number, you flip your inequality. So we have 3 times x, 3 times negative 1. So that'd be 3x minus 3 plus 2 less than or equal to 5x plus 6. So now we combine our like terms. So on the left, we have negative 3 plus 2, which is our negative 1. Okay, numbers on left, they're adding 1 first, which is totally normal and fine. 6 plus 1 is 7. Now if we subtract 5x to this to combine it with the 3x, that would be a negative 2. X is less than or equal to 7. Okay, so our last step here would be to divide by negative 2. Okay, so this should be an alert, alert, alert. We divided by a negative number. So this inequality right here, it was a less than or equal to. Oh gosh, they don't. We're not going to multiply by 1/2. I mean, again, it's the inequality or it's a reciprocal. We're going to divide by a negative 2, and which is the exact same thing. If we divide by a negative 2 to both sides, 7 divided by negative 2 would be negative 3 over 5. And then this was a less than or equal to. Now it is a greater than or equal to. So our inequality flipped. And so your solution set, negative 3 over 5 is included. So your solution set would be, and it's greater, so that goes to positive infinity. So we have negative 3.5 to infinity. Okay, infinity is not included because it's not a number, but negative 3.5 is, so this will be a bracket by the negative 3.5, as you can see right here. And then if we were to graph this on a number line, okay, we would go to negative 3 and then negative 4. So between those two, wow, that's completely wrong. Negative 2, negative 4, sorry. So between negative 3 and negative 4, it's going to be a bracket, and it is going to go this way. Bracket because it's included, okay? And I think we have this another example. I wanted to do a fraction of, we're still not done. We have a couple more examples. Okay, so we're solving the equality and graph. It's the solution set. Uh-oh, fractions. It's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our denominator, figure out what the least common divider is. Okay, so what's the smallest number that these numbers can divide evenly into, multiply it through, and then simplify. So we have 3, we have 2, so, and then 4, and then 3. So the smallest number they all go into is 12. Hopefully you yell that out loud. So we're going to multiply every single term by 12. Okay, so 12 times x over 3. So you can come to the side if you need to do it. So that would be like 12x over 3, which is equal to 4x. Or you can cross simplify. So this would be 4x. And then 12 times a half, half of 12 is 6. That's greater than 12 times x over 4 would be 3x. And then 12 times 1/3, 1/3 of 12 is 4. Okay, so look, beautiful numbers. So now we just gotta simplify. And I'm gonna move my 3x first. Cancel, so we have x plus 6 is greater than 4. Subtract 6, okay, x is greater than negative 2. So hopefully that didn't alert you, because it's okay if we subtract, it's not okay if we multiply or divide by a negative. Okay, so this was a greater than, it's still a greater than. Okay, so if we did our solution set, negative 2, it's greater, so it's going to infinity. Infinity is not included, and neither is negative 2. Okay, and if we have our graph, I don't know, I made this so big, negative 1, negative 2, it's a parentheses, and it shades to positive infinity. Okay. So now we have solving double inequalities. To solve these inequalities and graph its solution set. So here we have a compound inequality, and so we're looking for our x value that's between these numbers. So we need to get this x in the middle by itself. Okay, so instead of doing what you do to one side, you do to the other, it's what you do in the middle, you have to do to both sides. Okay, so our goal is to get this x by itself. So if this was just a normal 1, not a compound inequality, just a single inequality, your first step would be to multiply by 3 to break up that fraction. Okay, so instead of doing 3 to this side and this side, we would do 3 to this side, and this side. So we are going to multiply the inside by 3, and then multiply this side by 3, and then multiply this side by 3. Okay, these 3's cancel. And as you can see here, we multiplied by 3. So 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, and then 5 times 3 is 15. So we multiplied by 3 here, and then that 3 there to break up that. So all we're left with is 2x plus 5. So we still want to get this x by itself. Okay, to do that, we want to subtract 5, and we have to do it to both outsides. So negative 9 minus 5 is negative 14, and then 15 minus 5 is 10. Those cancel. Still want to solve for x. We divide by 2. 2 is positive, so we're good. We don't have to flip anything. Divide by 2, divide by 2. So negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7, which is less than x, which is less than or equal to 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Okay, so your solution set is between negative 7 and 5. Okay, negative 7 is not included, but 5 is included. And then if we graphed it, we have negative 7, we have 5, at 7 it is a fraction, and at 5 is a bracket. And it's the area between those two numbers, because it's a compound, so it means that it's gonna be between those two numbers, okay? And then lastly, let's do another one of these. So we have negative 1 less than or equal to x plus 1, which is less than 14. Okay, we want to solve for this x by itself. So inside we have the negative 1, or the positive 1. So we subtract 1 to all 3 to cancel that in the middle. So negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2, which is less than or equal to x, which is less than 14 minus 1 is 13. Okay, we didn't flip anything because we didn't multiply or divide by a negative. So now if we did our solution set, we have negative 2 to 13. 2 is included, 13 is not. We graphed it, we have negative 2, 13. I know that's wrong, but that's okay. That's not the correct, negative 2, 13 is there, and then we shade in between. Okay, so hopefully that helps you with your assignment. Okay, there are 15 total questions. Reach out to me if you have any questions, issues, or if I need to go over anything slower. All right, bye.